I am 85 years old, and the thing I have been most afraid of, for longer than I can tell you, is not dying. It is becoming a burden to my children. I have never said that out loud to them, not once, but I have thought it in the quiet hours, when the house is still and I am lying there in the dark running numbers in my head, wondering how long I can keep doing this on my own, wondering at what point my being here starts to cost them something they cannot afford to give. If you are over 75 and that thought has ever crossed your mind even once, I want you to stay with me today, because I have spent the last 10 years figuring out how to hold on to my independence without pretending I do not need anything. And before I am done today, I am going to share one specific thing, one idea that took me an embarrassingly long time to understand, that changed the way I think about asking for help entirely. It reframed everything for me. Stay with me and I will get there. But first, I need to tell you something honest. Most of the advice I was given about staying independent after 75 was wrong. Not wrong on purpose, but wrong in the way that well-meaning advice can be wrong when the person giving it is 40 years younger than you and cannot quite imagine what it actually feels like to be here. They said things like, stay active and eat well and keep your mind sharp. And yes, fine, those things matter. But that is not what independence actually depends on when you are 75 or 80 or 85. What independence actually depends on is something quieter and more specific, and most people never talk about it plainly, so I am going to. Let me start with my friend Evelyn. Evelyn was 78 when her husband passed. She had been a school librarian for 30 years, organized woman, careful woman. She had a plan for everything. After Robert died, she was determined to manage on her own. She told her daughter Carol straight out, I am fine. I do not need help. Please do not worry about me. And she meant it. She genuinely believed it. But what happened over the next 2 years was so quiet and so gradual that nobody caught it in time. Evelyn stopped driving at night because it made her nervous. Then she stopped driving to places she did not know well. Then she stopped driving much at all. She stopped going to her book club because she did not want to ask Carol for a ride and did not want to admit she was not driving. She started eating less because grocery shopping had become difficult. She lost weight. She got weaker. She got more isolated. By the time Carol realized what had happened, her mother had gone from a sharp, active, independent woman to someone who was genuinely struggling. And the hard truth is that it did not have to go that way. Not because Evelyn was not capable, but because she had confused refusing help with being independent. Those are not the same thing. I know that now. It took me a long time to understand it, but I know it now. Real independence is not about doing everything yourself. Real independence is about staying in charge of your own life, deciding where you live, deciding how you spend your days, deciding who comes into your home and when and why. Deciding what matters to you and pursuing it. That is independence. Doing your own grocery shopping is not independence. It is just grocery shopping. And if accepting a ride to the store keeps you eating well and strong and sharp, then accepting that ride is what an independent person does. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because I think a lot of us were raised with a version of pride that is actually working against us right now. The first real thing that keeps you independent after 75 is your health. Not in a vague, general way, but in one very specific way that most of us are not handling correctly. The doctor. I am not talking about going to the doctor when something is wrong. I am talking about being a specific kind of patient, the kind that writes things down, asks questions, and does not let anything get managed without understanding it. My doctor's name is Dr. Prasad. He is a good man and a busy man. When I first started seeing him, I would go in, sit there, answer his questions, nod, take the prescriptions, and leave. And then I would go home and not quite remember what he had said and not want to call because I did not want to bother anyone. A woman at my senior center named Florence changed how I thought about this. Florence brought a notebook to every appointment. She wrote down her questions before she went in. She wrote down what the doctor said while she was there. And when she did not understand something, she said, I do not understand that. Can you say it a different way? Just like that. Politely but clearly. She told me once, I am the only one living in my body. He is the expert on medicine, but I am the expert on me. And if I do not advocate for myself in that room, nobody will. She was right. I started doing the same thing. I cannot tell you how many small things got caught and corrected simply because I started being a more active participant in my own care. A medication that was making me dizzy at night. A vitamin deficiency that explained why I had been so tired for months. None of that would have surfaced if I had kept sitting there nodding and going home. Being a good advocate for yourself in medical appointments is not being difficult. It is being responsible. And it is one of the most powerful things you can do to stay well enough to stay independent. The second thing is money. And I know this one makes people uncomfortable. We were raised not to talk about money. But I am going to talk about it anyway, because silence about money is one of the fastest ways to lose independence. Specifically, I am talking about scams. I have a neighbor named Gerald who is 79 years old and one of the sharpest men I know. He did his own taxes for 50 years. He ran a small business. He is not a foolish man. And 2 years ago, he lost $11,000 to someone on the phone who told him his Social Security number had been compromised and that he needed to buy gift cards to protect his account. $11,000. Gone. Gerald told me about it himself. He said the man on the phone was so calm, so official sounding, so certain. He said it happened so fast. He said by the time he realized something was wrong, the money was already gone. I am telling you this not to frighten you and not to suggest that Gerald was foolish. I am telling you because the people running these scams are professionals. They do this all day, every day. They are very good at it. And they specifically target older adults because they know we were raised to be polite to authority, to not hang up on someone, to take a threat seriously. Here is what I want you to know. The Social Security Administration will never call you and threaten to suspend your number. The IRS will never demand gift cards. Medicare will never ask for your bank account information over the phone. If someone calls you and creates urgency, creates fear, tells you not to tell your children, tells you to act right now, that is a scam. Every single time. The rule in my house is simple. I do not give money or personal information to anyone who calls me. Anyone. If it is real and it is important, they will send something in writing and I will have time to look at it, sit with it, and make a decision without pressure. And I will tell you something that is uncomfortable but true. Letting a scammer take $11,000 from you does more damage to your independence than almost anything else I can think of. Because then your children start to worry. They start to wonder if you are managing on your own. They start having conversations that you do not want them to have. Protecting your money is protecting your independence. They are the same thing. The third thing is your home. And I covered bathroom safety in another conversation, so I will not go back over all of that today. But I want to say something broader about your home that goes beyond safety equipment. Your home is your independence. As long as you can live in it, you are free. The moment you cannot live in it safely, everything changes. So the question you should be asking yourself is not whether your home is fine right now. The question is whether your home is set up to support you as things gradually change. Stairs that are fine today may not be fine in 3 years. A bathtub that is manageable today may not be manageable in 5 years. A house that requires a car to access anything in a neighborhood with no sidewalks, no nearby services, may become a trap. I am not saying you need to move. I am saying you need to think about this honestly and ahead of time, not in a moment of crisis. The people who plan ahead stay in control. The people who wait until something forces a decision often end up with someone else making it for them. And on that note, let me say something about the conversation with your children. I know you do not want to have it. I know because I did not want to have it either. Talking to your kids about what you want for yourself if things change feels like giving something up, like admitting something, like opening a door you would rather keep shut. But here is what I have learned. Your children are already having that conversation, without you, among themselves, about you. And when you are not in the room, your wishes are not in the room either. The most powerful thing you can do for your own independence is to tell your children clearly and specifically what you want. Not in a crisis, not in a hospital, but on a regular afternoon over coffee. Tell them where you want to live if things get harder. Tell them what matters most to you. Tell them what you are afraid of. Tell them what you do not want, as specifically as you can. When you do that, you shift from being someone things happen to into someone whose voice is part of every decision. That is power. That is the most real kind of independence there is. The fourth thing is staying connected, and I do not mean in a sentimental way. I mean in a practical survival kind of way. Isolation is genuinely dangerous, not just lonely, dangerous. People who become isolated as they age decline faster. Their minds slow down faster. Their health deteriorates faster. They are more likely to fall and not be found. They are more vulnerable to scammers because a person who calls them pretending to care starts to feel like someone who actually does. And isolation happens gradually. It does not announce itself. You stop driving at night. You miss one meeting at the senior center. You do not call back someone because you are tired and you think you will call tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes not at all. My friend Raymond is 81. He lost his wife 3 years ago, and within a year he had pulled back from almost everything. He stopped going to his church breakfast. He stopped answering his phone most days. His son Michael called me once, worried, and I went over there. I sat across from Raymond in his living room, and I asked him what was going on. He said, "It is just easier not to. Everything takes so much energy, and I do not want to be around people who feel sorry for me." I understood that completely. I told him so. And then I told him that easier is not the same as better, and that the energy he was saving by staying home was being spent on something much worse, on loneliness, on decline, on giving up a little bit at a time without realizing it. Raymond started coming to a weekly coffee group at a nearby church. Nothing big, 6 or 7 people, a pot of coffee, an hour of talking. He has been going for 2 years now. It did not fix his grief, but it kept him in the world. It kept him sharp. It kept him tethered. Stay in the world, not because someone told you to, because it is keeping you in the fight for your own life. The fifth thing is where I want to slow down, because this is the thing that changed everything for me. This is what I promised you at the beginning. For most of my adult life, I believed that needing help was a failure, that if I needed someone to do something for me, it meant I was losing ground, losing independence, becoming that word I feared most, a burden. And then a very wise woman, a social worker named Barbara, who came to speak at my senior center, said something I have thought about almost every day since. She said the people who stay independent the longest are not the ones who refuse help. They are the ones who are strategic about the help they accept. They let go of the tasks that are draining them and costing them their energy, so they can hold on to the things that actually make them who they are. She gave this example. She said, imagine a woman who spends 3 hours every week cleaning her house. It exhausts her. Her knees hurt for 2 days after. She is too tired to go to her church group or call her grandchildren or read her books. And she refuses to let anyone help her clean because she feels like she should be able to do it herself. She is holding on to the cleaning at the cost of everything that actually matters to her. Barbara said the strategic thing, the truly independent thing, is to accept help with the cleaning. Let someone else do that. And use those 3 hours and that energy for the life you actually want to be living. That is not giving in. That is not becoming a burden. That is managing your own resources intelligently. The same way you managed your household budget or your work schedule or your children's needs when you were younger. You are still the one in charge. You are just being smart about where you spend what you have. I went home from that talk and I made a list. I wrote down every task that was costing me more than it was worth. Things that wore me out, that took time and energy I could be spending on something that mattered more to me. And then I thought about which of those things I could get help with, not because I had to, but because it would make me stronger where it counted. That list changed my life. Not dramatically, but quietly, in the way real changes happen. I have more energy for my grandchildren when they visit. I read more. I sleep better. I am less worn down and more like myself. That is independence. That is what it actually looks like from the inside. I am 85 years old, and I live in my own home. I make my own decisions. I know what I want, and I have told the people I love what it is. I have a doctor I actually talk to. I know a scam when I hear one. I stay connected, even when it is easier not to. And I have learned to let go of the things that were costing me too much, so I could hold on to the things that make my life mine. None of that happened by accident. It happened because I stopped waiting for things to get hard before I started thinking clearly about how to protect what I had. You still have time to do the same. If you are 75 or 80 or even older, you still have time. Not for everything, maybe, but for this. For being intentional about your own life, for having the conversations, for making the small changes that add up to something real. Because your independence is worth protecting, not just for you, for the people who love you too. The greatest gift you can give your children is not burdening them with guilt about you. It is showing them by how you live that you are all right, that you have thought about this, that you are not waiting to be rescued. That is what I want for you. What I want for all of us who are trying to do this with as much dignity as we can carry. If this reached you today, please subscribe. Every week I share something real from 85 years of figuring things out, and I want you to be there for it. And I have a question for you in the comments. What is one thing you have been putting off dealing with? One thing you know matters to your independence that you have just not gotten around to yet? Tell me. You would be surprised how many others are sitting with the exact same thing. I read every one, and you are not alone in any of this.